Hey, what's going on guys? Before getting into this video, just a quick heads up, there will possibly potential spoilers for all the comic book issues and storylines that I'm about to mention in this video. So if you don't want to get any spoilers, just look at the link in the description of all the storylines and comic book issues that I recommend in the bottom in the description. And if you're okay with the spoilers, enjoy, and I hope you all have a good day. And I'll see you all in the next one. Hey, what's going on guys? In this video, I'm going to give you some of the recommendations that I have for DC comic books that I would recommend to you guys as a DC fan or a new DC fan entering into the comic book hemisphere for the first time. I currently have 8 on my list right now to recommend you guys. So here are these 8 comic books that I would recommend, or at least comic book issues or comic book volumes or storylines that I recommend you should read. Starting off with the first one on my list, which is DC's Flashpoint. This comic book is one of my personal favorites, and in my opinion, probably has one of the best alternate versions of Batman that isn't Bruce Wayne, or at least is kind of Bruce Wayne, but not, because the Batman in this one is Thomas Wayne. He is, instead of Bruce witnessing his parents' death, it is Thomas Wayne who witnesses his own son's death, while Bruce's mom becomes the infamous Joker. We don't get a huge of amount of information from DC's Flashpoint comic book run, but what I can tell you about is that it mainly focuses on the main storyline. Barry Allen has woke up in an alternate timeline, where now everything and everyone he knows is completely different. Hal Jordan is in Green Lantern, Superman is nowhere to be found, Wonder Woman and Aquaman are at war with each other, with their fellow people, the Amazons of Themyscira and the Atlanteans, and Cyborg is also a US military operative working on trying to end the war against the Atlanteans and the Amazons, while Batman, well, it's not Bruce Wayne, it's Thomas Wayne, as he will later find out when trying to figure out answers of what happened to the timeline. He believes it was Eobard Thawne that changed the timeline, especially when he releases his Flash suit and it turns out it's Reverse Flash's very own suit instead of his one. He later finds out that it was himself that changes the timeline, and he goes back in time to fix the timeline. But when he returns, he finds that all of his memories are back. And again, sorry if I forgot to mention, spoilers for all of these future comic books, because I will be getting in depth about it. And these are comic books that I think would just be great. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Who knows? But these have great stories in it, and it's just got a whole bunch of juicy information that I think you guys would just enjoy to read. I'm not going to get too much in depth about it, like how does it go, how does Barry Allen figure out every single thing, because I think that's something you guys should later on read and actually get to understand. Which brings me to the next one, which is one of the latest big comic book runs currently out there, being DC's DCeased. This takes place in an alternate reality where the DC heroes have discovered that there is now a zombie apocalypse on their hands to deal with. And let's just say it gets messy real fast. This zombie apocalypse starts off very badly. Heroes have gone missing, heroes have died, some heroes have become more powerful and more stronger to defend the remaining survivors of the human race. There's a whole bunch of characters in this, including Bruce Wayne, of course, Batman, all of the Bat family, Damian Wayne, Robin, who might later become Batman, Alfred, of course, Jonathan Kent, Clark Kent, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Green Lantern. Pretty much every character in the DC universe is in this story. It's definitely a good one that I would read. And there's currently a compact novel out there that you can read that comes with all of the information relevant for the DC's DCeased storyline. The next comic book storyline that I am going to recommend is none other than Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2. These two parts of the story compact of 2 different parts. Part 1 is Bruce Wayne returning as Batman, while Part 2 is more based on what are the consequences of Bruce Wayne returning as the Batman. This is the storyline that gives us the infamous Batman vs. Superman, and gives us the infamous line, "You're gonna remember the one man that beat you," which was from Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. It's a great storyline and it's just awesome. It really even shows a Gotham going into collapse, but Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, comes out of retirement to save the day, which is honestly one of the best storylines of DC's Batman storyline from back in the day. Which brings me to a storyline, or volume at least, a comic book issue that I think you guys would enjoy, which is the Batman Wayne Family Adventures Volume 5. This story contains one of my personal favorite parts of the story, which is about Alfred getting sick and the whole Bat family are there to help him. This really brings a connection of family and friends and basically just being a very positive story. It shows that every single character and member of the Bat family has a big heart for their good friend Alfred. And honestly, I think it's just a great story to read, and it's just a great story to just see in action. And I really do hope that if there is ever a DC animated show based on this comic book series to fully be published and have full episodes and seasons aired onto a streaming service, this is a story that I would love to watch. The next comic book storyline that I'm going to be talking about is a storyline that I think is really awesome to read if you haven't read it already, which is Batman Hush. Batman Hush is based on events prior to a comic book issues, a few of them, that leads to the Batman and Catwoman marriage and relationship that will later develop because of Batman Hush. It mainly focuses on Batman trying to figure out who is the character known as Hush, which he later finds out is his good old friend Elliot. And I definitely recommend reading it. There are so many characters that appear in this comic book, including this comic book storyline, including Superman, Lois Lane, Catwoman of course, Poison Ivy, Hush, Clayface, and so many more. It's definitely a comic book storyline that I would definitely recommend to you guys, and it's one of my personal favorites, and definitely one of the best Batman storylines currently out there. The next one is Titans Made in Manhattan Volume 2. This storyline, pretty good. I'm not going to spoil too much, but let's just say you got Nightwing, Aqualad, Wally West, aka Wally West the Flash, or the Flash Wally West version, and Donna Troy. They are your main characters of the story, where they end up finding themselves in a room with 4 other heroes, members of the Justice League, their mentors. But both sides are unsure if they're the real members, if they're the real legit people, and if those are actually their real mentors, or if the mentors don't even know if the people they're seeing are their true sidekicks, aka proteges. It's a great storyline, and I think it's really awesome to read, and I definitely recommend it. I'm not going to give away too much, but let me just say, it really gives Nightwing and Batman a lot to shine when it comes to their detective skills and how to prove a lot of things in the DC universe. I think it makes them the best detectives in the DC universe currently in the comics. The next storyline, and it's one of my personal favorites, it brings one of my personal favorite characters to return, and I won't say who, but it's about Batman, and it's the storyline Batman Under the Red Hood. The storyline follows Batman discovering a new person or personality in Gotham City. It's unknown who it is, but he goes by Red Hood. And he doesn't know who it is underneath the mask, but he later finds out. And I'm not going to spoil it too much, but let me just say, his mind kind of gets blown. And honestly, I'm kind of glad they did it, and it's one of the best characters out there. But if you do know who Red Hood is, it's pretty obvious. It's Jason Todd, the second Robin. It's a great storyline, and I honestly do recommend it because it just gets into so much depth about how much Jason Todd knows Bruce and how much Bruce knows Jason Todd and how much they probably truly care about each other, even though they might say to each other sometimes that they hate each other. Which brings me to the next volume / comic book issue, Red Hood Outlaws Volume 1. Especially the cartoons version. Or the cartoons thingy. The comic book one where it's all about, it's cartoonish kind of design. This one is, in my opinion, one of my personal favorites. It's basically connected to the Batman Wayne family adventures, but there's also some kind of special parts of the story where we actually do get to see some really cool stuff in the whole issue and the whole storyline. Volume 1 is just a great start to go with, and if I needed to recommend any Red Hood based story that wasn't connected to Batman directly and was his own kind of comic book series, I definitely recommend Red Hood Outlaws. You get to see a whole bunch of characters, including Bizarro and basically Jason making his own little team out in the DC universe. It's a really good story, and I definitely recommend it as a DC fan. And I recommend all of these comic book series and comic book issues because they're just really awesome. There are so many out there, including, of course, the one I've already mentioned, the storyline that is Catwoman's and Batman's marriage. It's a great storyline. I definitely recommend that one too. And of course, if you haven't, maybe check out some of those other comic books out there, like Crisis on Infinite Earths, or maybe even some of the other Superman storylines, Batman storylines, and of course, Nightwing, because Nightwing is one of my favorites characters, maybe my favorite character in DC Universe. But more importantly, it just has so many cool comic book issues, and it's definitely something that I think is a comic book series and a bunch of comic books that I would recommend. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later. If there's any comic books that you recommend, any storylines or issues that you recommend, comment them down below in the comments. And while you're down there, press the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Maybe while you're at it, maybe check out some of the other content on my channel. I do a lot of gaming content, and I also go live on YouTube and Twitch 4 to 5 days a week. So go check out maybe my Twitch and follow me there. And if you want, you can go check out my Instagram if you like, or TikTok. I don't really post much on TikTok, but Instagram has at least some frequent posts. Sometimes I even post something about a video way before I even post about it on YouTube. So maybe check out that. But until then, guys, I'll see you all later. And until next time, have a good day, have a good evening, and have a good night. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.